Welcome to Impumelelo Mentorship Podcast. My name is Impumelelo Maduna, and I made the commitment to rise as I rise with others while making mentorship accessible to all. Since the honor of being selected as a Miss South Africa runner-up on August 10th, 2024, I've been dedicated to sparking meaningful conversations that inspire hope and ignite our youth to dream beyond the realm of reality. I am joined by Dr. Mark Nasila, a remarkable individual with a rich journey that spans continents and careers. Born in Kenya and now based in South Africa, Dr. Nasila has pivoted from a successful corporate career to become a respected professor, although he prefers to go by the humble title of doctor. In our conversation, we'll be diving into the challenges he's faced, the resilience that's driven him, and the lessons he's learned along the way. We'll explore his upbringing, his career twists and turns, and what fuels his passion of growth and thriving. So let's dive in and explore the remarkable story of Dr. Mark Nasila. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Are you excited to be here?
Very.
I'm so honored that you came. I'm really, really grateful. And I thought, let's start on a different note. I had a moment to read your incredible book, African Artificial Intelligence. And at the bottom here, interestingly, if you really look closely, it's written Discovering Africa's AI Identity. And like I've shared with you in the past, I prefer to read a book from the back forward. But this time, something sparked interest in the first chapter for me. And the first chapter is Africa must discover its AI identity to accelerate tech modernization. And so it brought me to thinking, I would like you to dive into page 9. And page 9 says, why must Africa spearhead its AI strategy through identity? And something that's very important to me is that I believe that the youth of our country can really dream beyond the realm of reality. And they can be the future that we see and make it better. It belongs to our youth. So you then go on to say, Africa's opportunities and its challenges are unique. Food security, utility reliability, unemployment and education woes, healthcare challenges, and more. But each obstacle also represents an opportunity for AI-based solutions to be developed and potentially eventually be exported. I want you to tap into this without us going through the entire page and tell us what exactly is that opportunity and what does it look like?
All right. Thank you so much, Pumi. AI and generative AI are topics have been spoken a lot about in the past 2.5 years since the advent of ChatGPT. The value of AI today comes from what you do with it and how much you do with it. When you look at this technology, it's not just any other technology. It's changing how we do things. It's changing the future of work. It's driving industrialization. In fact, someone will say it's changing the real meaning of life. For Africa, the real value of AI lies in its opportunities, in its challenges, in its problems. AI is about solving problems, driving efficiency, driving modernization. And the way we go about it is very unique to how America goes about it, to the way China goes about it. And therefore, our reality is our identity. It represents who we are. It represents what AI can do for us, how much it can do for us, and also what we can offer to the world. There's certain problems that are very unique that the world can learn from us, but there's certain opportunities that I do believe if we go about it correctly, we can drive the next frontier of industrialization. The youth are called to this, and I will tell you why. Canada is in the top 10 most AI advanced countries because they invested into the future, because the youth are the future. The youth understand these problems. Some of the AI capabilities and technologies are being advanced by very young people. And if they're not at the center of driving this transformation, we're going to miss out not just the opportunities, but also the trust and buy-in from society.
Sure. And Mark, you've touched on important keywords, investment into our youth, identity, and that development. So this brings me to the question that we need to dive a little bit more personal into. What does it mean to work with what we have? Because I believe you're one of those people who always says, it's not what you have, it's what you make of what you have. And in that investment of our youth and personal growth and development, how do we identify all the things that we have and use that to solve our problems and to grow and to develop?
I think I have realized that um, doing well does not necessarily mean having access to everything. It's about being reflective and conscious around what you can work with. There is no individual who was directly set up to succeed. Even those with a lot of resources actually don't necessarily succeed. The recipe of success is envisaging success actually and working with what you have, combined with a bit of luck. I must admit that you have to be lucky in life. I mean, I've been very lucky to be associated with very good managers at work, friends, and I think what I would advise is this: as a part of working with what you have a very good network, because your network is actually your wealth.
Yeah.
The second part is that um, stop investing in things that won't be important in the future. And that is important because the issue of budget is always a conversation among the youth, even in companies, because they feel like, okay, we need money to invest in infrastructure. We need a lot of investment to travel. But also, we realize that we can deprioritize other things, but at an individual level, but also at an organizational level, so that you can start investing in things that will be important in the future. So today, I look after the AI strategy and the risk function at F, and it was a journey. And it was a journey which, when we talk about the wins and successes of today,
Yeah.
it's about decisions we made 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And 6-7 years ago, we tried to, refocus things, put other things aside, and make sure that maybe we plan for today.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for tomorrow.
And
right?
for tomorrow.
And I love that you emphasized evolution. And with that evolution comes also setting clear intentions of where we see ourselves. We're not the people who are going to stay in the same place. But what does that evolution entail, especially when it comes to setting clear intentions with the relationships that we're building? Because you alluded to the point that relationships are our currency. And I just want you to kind of emphasize, what does that evolution look like with the access that I do have? Because I'm heavily reliant on AI, right? But do I know how to effectively use it to be more efficient so that I'm evolving with the times?
So we as human beings, we take ourselves for granted, but actually our intelligence has evolved over time. Uh, I read a study that almost 80% of jobs that we have today never existed 60 years ago. It means that we've evolved over time. Think about the early 90s, and I always crack this joke. We had this Nokia banana phone. I've got this. There's people who did their studies with a typewriter before the smartphone and smart computers came in place. But we've evolved over time. Today, we've got applications. We're very connected. The world is very, very connected. We're talking about we're now in a global village.
Yes.
And who we are today is very different to those days. So we've evolved over time and we've embraced the evolution. And I think in today's world, we need to embrace the evolution that will build on our intelligence over time. Why do we think human intelligence is actually very important in evolving artificial intelligence? Is because we as human beings, we understand the physical world, how it changes. We understand how things are interconnected. We 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 perceive information in a very unique way and actually drive that change. But for us to evolve, we need technology to take over the previous form of intelligence, which is what we call artificial intelligence. and we must embrace it. I mean, in a lot of conversations, I'm told people are worried about AI taking jobs.
Yeah.
It's valid, but when you look at it closely, I think we're being almost released to become who we're supposed to be. I would advise, especially the youth, to embrace technology, to drive the change, because this technology is driving industrialization, it's driving the future of work. I think when I look at the opportunity Africa has,
Yes.
it's a game changer.
Absolutely.
We'll never have an opportunity like this again. I mean, economically, socially, we are behind already. We are behind from the fact that we've got a lot of social challenges. We've got a bit of less geopolitical power compared to America, China, and the likes of Europe. And this technology gives an opportunity to take away our social problems, so it can be an efficient continent or nation.
Yeah.
It provides an opportunity to drive the Africa agenda, to say, okay, this is who we are, to modernize, to be less dependent. We cannot be running to the West or to Asia every single time we have a small problem. We need to be independent and let Africa also have a voice in the global ecosystem.
Absolutely. And in a time like this, Mark, I'm feeling very optimistic. I mean, it's the G20, Y20, W20, you name it. And I think this is our time to show off and show up. And the talent is in our youth. And they have the data now that's been handed over by the legacy that, our incredible leaders have left us with. And, we do have those challenges that we are facing. But I don't want to talk too much about our problems. I want to talk about your personal journey, and you touched on a word there, village. And I've got some insights that you were born in Kenya.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about that and your upbringing and what has driven you to land up in South Africa and to grow so exceptionally in your career, in your personal life.
So I was born in Kenya. Well, long story short, my parents emigrated to Umtata, the Eastern Cape.
Kaloku ndichupa.
Yeah,
Isantu.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So studied at Walter Sisulu. Till my father was a lecturer there. Then I moved to Port Elizabeth to pursue my postgraduate studies. But in that journey, I must admit, films, I feel content, but not everything happened the way I planned. Like when I finished primary school, I wanted to study technical design. I went to high school. I wanted to study, design technology so that I can build bridges. And I remember one time I'm sitting with my friends. I'm applying to a university in Australia, which was actually one of the best in developing engineers and architects who could design very complex bridges, because I loved maths. But my love for maths evolved in my life to make my life more purposeful in a different way up to where I am today, because I ended up studying computer science and statistics, honors, masters. Then I joined FME in 2010.
Okay.
Over time, I've developed algorithms for credit, fraud, but I now realize when I looked at the world was changing. That's the time Facebook was becoming a big thing, Google. And I remember reading an article by a professor from Imperial College called David Hunt.
Yes.
And he articulated how these big tech companies were going to change the world with big data. And then I started shifting to artificial intelligence, met my friends from Singularity University. This is Mickman, Ashley, Anthony, Shane Man, this is part of the faculty of Singularity in South Africa. And we went to Silicon Valley. And I think it was a bit of a series of decisions and outcomes.
Yes.
The way the world is changing so fast, things are fluctuating.
Yeah.
It's about how you decide and how you deal with the outcome and make a decision on the outcome. And that's basically just been the definition of life.
Yeah.
Then in 2019, we started now implementing AI in the risk function. Today, the risk function is modernized, transformed. Our due diligence teams, investigators use AI that we developed, but also we built trust in it on a personal note. I feel content because that growth has also been growing people, Jim, and enabling them to be part of this reality.
Sure. What a journey. Very exciting. I feel like you've skipped some parts, but we'll touch on it another time. And Mark, I go back again to talk about evolution being the constant. And we know that there's a lot happening in this world. There's lots of complexity, uncertainty. And oftentimes you'll find as a youth, we make the decision of which we can predict the outcome. But not all the time that's the narrative or the direction that it goes. You look at our education system and you think, oh, I'm going to go into university. I'll do my 4-year degree. But there's obstacles along the way. You find yourself not having enough finances to complete your qualification. And now you kind of have to diverse and go into other avenues to grow and to still have an opportunity to excel. And so with evolution being this constant and remaining agile, what would you say in your journey kept that resilience and that focus and that clear intention of, even though the outcome may not be what you desire to be, what is it that your agility adjusts to?
So, the beginning of my career, and maybe when I was in primary school, high school, in that time, I felt our life was easier than today. And I feel for the youth today because our life was defined. You had to go through this conveyor belt system that things were set up. You go to school, you go to high school. All you needed to do was to study. And today is the recipe for success is dealing with uncertainty. While it's important to plan so much ahead, is that the current reality might not tie into the plan. So you actually have to work with what you have to um, uh, almost believe, and and create value and a fortune from the reality you deal with today.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because we all have dreams. We want to be a football player. We want to be a medical doctor, or someone wants to be an engineer. The youth, they are facing pressure from family. I mean, every time we switch on a TV, today it's bad news. Oh, the that of fighting Ukraine, Russia, politics. There's so much negativity, and it depends with how you turn around that so that it can work for you.
Yes.
Um, Fortunately, the conveyor belt system or old way of things is not the only way that is trusted. So you don't have to go to university, get a PhD, yes, to be valuable. We got a lot of people who are doing very well that, are self-made. They were upskilled, seek help, mentorship, which I think is critical. And the youth must rely on mentorship so much because that is the only way to interlink and tie your abilities to the current reality.
Yes.
I must say something. Even those who are doing well actually don't know what's happening. They're just living and impressing the moment.
Absolutely.
It's about just being in the moment and working with what you have. Yeah,
The right time, right place.
exactly.
And Mark, I could keep you here the whole day, but I have one thing that I'd like to ask you is, you having been part of shaping this country and this continent, what hope do you have for our youth?
I think we're going through an inflection that is redefining everything.
Mm.
Um, Under the current circumstances, if everything was linear, I mean, as progressing as the past, I would be a bit despondent. But things are changing, and a part of this change opens up opportunities for the youth more than ever. They must grab these opportunities. They must fight for them. The real world is not soft. The real world doesn't provide things for you on a silver platter, but globalize the way they approach life. Let's not limit ourselves to where we are. Let's dream big. Yeah, the globalization is globalization because it also presents global opportunities. So we must look at it that way. I will encourage the youth to travel, get exposure on what is happening across the world. I think it helps open the mind up, but it also helps realize that if decisions are made correctly, then we can create the future that we want.
And I love that you're igniting that in them, because there's platforms like One Young World, where you can apply and travel, for free and learn so much on that. And so before we wrap up, one word that you can describe the future of this continent and this country.
Decisions.
Okay.
Decisions.
That will drive our outcomes.
Everything is all about decisions, whether it's how we strategize, how we identify opportunities, how we prioritize our budgets, how we prioritize our time, our health. It's about what you decide, because the decision you make determines the direction of how things will end up being. So decisions, and that must be a reflective factor for everyone, whether it's a youth or a leader. It's about decisions.
Absolutely. And I'm certainly happy that I made this decision to have you on this podcast. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've got a few rapid fire questions for you.
Yes.
And the first one is, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
The only two things you have in life is your time and your health. So you better look after them.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
What is the one book that has significantly impacted your life?
There's a book by an Australian nurse. Her name is Bronnie Ware. 5 things people regret on their deathbed.
Oh, I must read that. Okay. Geez, that's a good one. What's the most important lesson that you've learned throughout your career?
Your network is your currency. And try as much as you can not to follow manual following.
Oh, catchline. Love it. So, Mark, if you could have dinner with any historic figure, who would it be?
Mohammed.
Ah, cards. Nice one. Okay. What's the one piece of advice that you would give to your 20-year-old self?
Yeah, anything there. We're here for a season, and the time we have is limited. Make the most of it. Make decisions that will make your time on this earth worthwhile.
Oh, I love it. What a note to end on. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.